You are welcome to another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. R. Kelly's Chicago trial was the original process that was always meant to take place, but the government felt it necessary to relocate some charges to New York, and in particular to the Brooklyn federal court where they had Judge Donnelly as an ally who would put the last nail in the coffin. No wonder it's in the New York indictment that all the alien charges such as the RICO and Mann Act violations were planted. Judge Donnelly did not disappoint her allies and issued an all-guilty verdict for all 10 counts, as though to say, R. Kelly was guilty in all arguments made during this kangaroo court trial. The speed and arrogance with which the New York judge acted was so strange. In fact, had there been any new charges smuggled onto the charge sheet before the judgment without her knowledge, there is a chance she would have ruled guilty for them too without reviewing them. And when it came to the sentencing, Judge Donnelly was again kind enough to add R. Kelly's oppressors another 5 years to the 25 they had requested, giving him 30 years in total. While we may find it hard to believe that a U.S. federal judge can be biased, Judge Donnelly did this in broad daylight, and we can't rule out possible cooperation with the plaintiff. The fact that the government found it necessary to split what was supposed to be a single trial stationed in Chicago and took half of it to Brooklyn is also highly questionable. While they have the mandate to do this, it looks strategic for the government to be in New York. On the other hand, when it came to the Chicago trial, considering what supporters of R. Kelly had seen transpire in New York, everyone was suspicious and on the lookout for what Judge Leinenweber would do. It was difficult to tell whether or not he too was part of the evil plan to finish off R. Kelly. When it came to the jury deliberations, he could have made a mistake here and there when he suggested guilt for half a count means guilt for the whole count instead of declaring a mistrial, but all in all his judgment was not as biased as the one in New York. In fact, in-depth case analysis has revealed that Judge Leinenweber likely read the injustice against R. Kelly and decided to make a difference. He could have chosen to issue a consecutive 20-year sentence to the 30 years in New York to make a total of 50, and that would indeed be the last nail in the coffin, but he chose not to and added only 1 year to make it 31. He probably did this only to keep the haters quiet. He also endeavored to add yet another window of hope when he said R. Kelly is eligible for parole after 3 years of incarceration. What this means is that if R. Kelly is free of any other sentences elsewhere and is only dealing with the one in Chicago, he can apply for supervised release with a promise of good behavior. This is called probation. Much as the Chicago judgment and ruling did not necessarily translate into an immediate acquittal, it's clear they offer R. Kelly a fighting chance and a window of hope. If his legal team can deal with the New York alien charges effectively, R. Kelly has a clear chance of regaining his freedom. It is therefore logical to conclude that the Chicago federal judge did have a keen eye to see the injustice against R. Kelly, and made sure to rule as fairly as he probably could in the light of a total hijack on justice by the powerful government. Also afraid of the Me Too movement Me Tooing him as well, his hands were tied. I get to think if Judge Leinenweber had a choice, he would have acquitted R. Kelly immediately. It's also important to remember that unlike the New York judge, Leinenweber agreed to keep the Aaliyah case out of the Chicago trial. Comparing the two trials, the one in New York by Judge Donnelly and the one in Chicago by Leinenweber, it is easy to determine that the only fair judge we had here was the Chicago one. And it is also clear he could have done a lot better hadn't been for the politicization of the entire case against R. Kelly. The Me Too movement is becoming a hindrance to justice more than it is a negotiator for the same. According to Amanda Jones, by now there are many people who have realized that the entire case against R. Kelly was a conspiracy to defraud him and lock him up hopefully for the rest of his life. Indeed, the Chicago judge knew this, and that's likely the reason his judgment and sentencing were far different from the one in New York. We may say the 20 years were many and should be appealed, but the window of self-redemption after 3 years was a good gesture. I don't want to say his hands were tied, for he could have done even better. But compared to Judge Donnelly, who chose to blind herself with the sentiments of the government witnesses, and to pretend not to understand what the law says, he becomes the hero here. There are many other people who now know this, especially in the music industry, but are just afraid to come out and speak on it. Thanks to the likes of Boosie Badazz, who did not sit on it and spoke out. According to Miguelito. Wow. The government is nothing to play with. They are good for some stuff, but this R. Kelly stuff surely has to come to an end. He's been tortured enough. While the government is chasing after him, the people that are really hurting kids out there are laughing and getting away with it every day because everyone is so worried that R. Kelly is the villain here. Wake up, government, do your job and stop wasting taxpayers' money pursuing R. Kelly for your personal reasons. In case they think we do not know who is behind all this, they are so wrong. We know well they were given a mission to destroy him, but they will not succeed. R. Kelly is God sent and therefore God protected. No one will determine how and when he leaves this world except the Creator himself, who clearly still needs him here. He may have used Judge Leinenweber to give R. Kelly a fighting chance. Who knows how he plans to use the appeal court judges? Perhaps even better, to free him. We wait to see. According to Maria Slavinsky. I hope his morale picked up after this sentencing and he knows we are all watching and waiting on that appeal for his return home, but I think that judge must have seen what we all saw and it was the right thing to do. The old guy cut him a break basically, and middle-aged white female judge sentenced him based on emotions. I'm thoroughly convinced of it. They should just remember this can happen to their sons or siblings. Color don't matter. This is an injustice from false allegations. His due process denied all the way through to this last sentencing. I also want these lying, greedy daughters of Eve and the parents dealt with. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.